Welcome to Workday Training for Managers with Sherelle Williams, lead trainer, Workday Technical Training Team.
I just want to share that this is pretty much an introduction. It is not expected that by the time we finish this training that you will be an expert. We want to take the opportunity to introduce you all, people managers, to the Workday system, and to also introduce you into some of the activities that you will be performing in Workday as a people manager. So let's start with some Workday fundamentals. What is Workday? Well, Workday is basically a cloud-based system, and it is customizable and specializes in such applications that we use here: UMH, financial, supply chain, and human capital management systems. It will be the one source of truth, which will allow us to have a single point of data and where that data is flowing out of. It is integrated, as I stated. HR, finance, and supply chain are all on one platform. We have a great employee experience, also supportive of self-service. We also know that the system is going to empower the leaders, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. And then we also have that great data visibility. So let's talk about how a manager is defined in Workday. We know that throughout the system, many people have different management job titles. So a manager is defined in Workday as an individual who has at least one direct report or one open position. So if you have a title or a management title or management job and you don't have anybody reporting directly to you, then you will not get the role of manager in Workday. That doesn't have anything to do with your job title or your job role. It's just how Workday is set up. Anyone and everyone who gets the manager security role all has the same access and will be able to do the same things. Okay, let's continue. Our key concepts. Supervisory organization is a very important concept for you to remember. The supervisory organization set up in Workday is the foundation of the structure of Workday. And what it does is it houses and groups departments together in a hierarchy, in a management hierarchy. And that is what helps to provide the structure for the operations of how we do activities in Workday. The business processes within Workday are tasks in the system, and they identify who can initiate, who can act upon, and who can and/or complete a task. And so the supervisory organization and the business processes work very much hand in hand together. The supervisory organization is created with the manager as at the top of the supervisory organization, and then the direct reports reporting up. Based on that supervisory organization and the manager role within that supervisory organization, there may be some additional roles, security roles, an HR partner, a finance partner, maybe a requisitioner. Those roles belong to the individuals who are in those positions within the supervisory organization. And again, based on the tasks and the processes that are in the system, they are assigned to those individuals accordingly. So when we talk about managers, let's talk about what managers are going to be able. What is the capability of a manager in Workday? Well, we like to break it down as saying managers will be able to view, do, and approve. What will you be able to view, do, and approve? Well, from a view standpoint, you'll be able to view compensation data on your direct reports. We also have a great dashboard called the My Team Management Dashboard, and it is a centralized dashboard that you can go to and do a lot of your activities having to do with your direct reports. We also have a view time off dashboard. We want to keep in mind that we are still going to use Kronos for our time and attendance, but we do have an integration from Kronos into Workday, and based on that integration, we're able to see time off. And then the manager will be able to view career and performance related data, which includes the goals, education, language, etc. What will you be able to do as a manager in Workday? Well, as a manager in Workday, you'll be able to create positions through the job requisition process. as well as be a part of that recruiting process and the onboarding process. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. The onboarding checklist also is what you'll do that will set off the onboarding process for your new hires. You'll also be able to process staffing changes such as job changes, ending additional jobs and terminations. You'll also be able to process performance reviews. We'll be doing performance reviews, but those will take place after go live. You'll be able to enroll your direct reports into learning courses and then finally initiate terminations. We're going to talk a little bit more, and specifically in the do area, we'll get a little bit more into detail. Finally, under the approve, as a manager in Workday, you will have the ability to approve tasks that have been initiated by your direct reports or that you're involved in with other areas in the system. So you'll be able to approve reports, staffing changes, elective learning enrollments, and then also goals from your direct report. This is a highlight of the things that you, as a manager with the manager security role in Workday, will be able to view, do, and approve. There are many benefits to you as a manager in Workday, and you can see them listed here on the screen. And it's not just one particular area. Like I said, in HR, supply chain, and finance, the benefits are plentiful. One of the huge benefits that we really like about Workday is the transparency and the ownership, the ability to go into the system and to see where a process is and who's the owner of that process helps us to be more transparent with our data and our processes within Workday. You're also able to access self-service features and take charge of your career. There's a really cool feature within Workday that allows every caregiver to build up their career profile. These are some of the benefits that are available for managers in Workday. Let's talk about position management briefly. Position management is not new to UMH. We use position management now. This is the structure in which Workday is built upon as well. One thing to keep in mind when we talk about position management is that a position is a job and not a person. Each caregiver, everybody, is assigned to a specific position. As you can see in our picture here, there's some people in a chair and then there's some empty seats. Every caregiver is hired into a position in Workday. A position must exist for someone to be hired into Workday. And then when a caregiver experiences a job change, they must understand how the position is interacting with the supervisory organization that they are existing in or the one that they may be moving to. This is the Workday landing page. So once you log in, this is the work page, the landing page that you will see. I'm going to do a demonstration. I'm going to start from left to right and point out some of the highlights of Workday. I'll start from the left and I'll click on what we call the global menu. The global menu, when I click on it, shows a drop down, and on the drop down are what we call apps, Workday apps. If you have a smartphone, iPhone, Android, a smart device, then we're all familiar with apps, and so it is with Workday. These are applications, and by clicking on them, it gets you into another area of the system. When, as a manager, you'll when you click on the global menu, you'll see these applications. You may see some additional applications because you do have a defined security role within Workday. And so based on that security role, you're able to see different applications. You're also able to see caregiver applications because in addition to you having the manager security role, you also have the caregiver security role as well. So when I go down and I look at the list, if I am missing an application, then I can click on the Add Apps. And from here, I can simply start to type any application that I may be missing. And so once the application shows up, now when I type an application and it doesn't show up, that's letting me know that I don't have access to it. And so it's fine. It means that, hey, you don't have that security role. This is how you'll find an app, and this is also how you'll add an app. Once you find the app, you'll just click on Add, Save Changes, and then it'll show up in your global menu. Next to the global menu is what we call our home icon. When we go live, it'll be a UMH icon, not this W for Workday. In the event that you're in Workday and you are performing a task or you end up somewhere that you just don't know how you got there, I always like to say you can always go back home. Click on the home button, it'll bring you back to the familiar landing page. Next to the home button is the search bar. The search bar is a dynamic search within Workday. You can search by people, task and reports, learning, and drive, what may be saved in your drive. If I am trying to just do a people search, then by clicking on people, I will, from there, type the name of a person that I may be looking for. Once I find the name of the person that I'm looking for, or even start typing it, Workday is starting to build a search and bring back my search results. Again, you can search for people. You can also search for tasks and reports as well in the search bar. Going further to the right, we have this bell. This bell is what we call a notification. The notification bell has a number on it, 11. That means that there are 11 notifications in my inbox. These notifications are basically letting me know that I have initiated a task and there's activity with that task, or someone else has initiated a task and I'm involved in it. It's just giving me updates on tasks that I'm involved with. If I click on the notifications, and I'm able to see statuses of tasks that I'm involved in. Next to the notification is a very important icon, and it is the My Task inbox. You can also see that there's a number on the My Task inbox. If you don't remember anything out of this session, remember this My Task inbox. It's very important. This is where your Workday tasks are going to be housed and where you will access them. I want you to keep in mind that if there are tasks in your My Task inbox in Workday and you don't act upon them, you become a bottleneck in the task. So we want to make sure that we frequently log into Workday, see if there's any task in there, and if there are, we want to click on that My Task inbox. When I click on the My Task inbox, it's going to take me to the inbox and it's going to show me the tasks that I need to not only review, but to approve. We're going to talk about approvals in a few minutes, but I wanted to show you this is what the My Task inbox looks like. There's a panel here. I can save searches. I can create filters for my inbox. I have an archive. I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes. If I have the ability to bulk approve, if there's some tasks in there that are multiple, and I can just knock it all out in one bulk approval. And then we have the managed delegation. I'll come back and talk about managed delegation in a few minutes. I'm going to go back to my home page, and the next icon next to the My Task inbox is the profile. By clicking on the profile, I get a drop-down menu, and on that drop-down menu, I have account, workbench, favorites, my reports, documentation, and recovery. We'll utilize these frequently or depending on your activity in Workday, but the one thing that I do want to point out is the My Account. Under the My Account shows the change preferences, and the reason why I want to show the change preferences is because I talked about the My Task inbox. The My Task inbox does have an integration to our Outlook. And so in the event that you do have a task in your My Task inbox, you're going to get an Outlook email to let you know, hey, you need to go over to Workday. There's a task waiting for you to act upon. So we do have that integration. And because of that integration, we automatically set up the integration to immediate. And so based on the immediate preference, you may decide you don't want to necessarily get those notifications immediately, depending on, again, your activity in Workday. So one way that you can update that is to come into Change Preferences, Email, and then you can see all of the different type of tasks. So in the event that you, for like check-ins, you want to not get immediate notifications, but you would like maybe just daily, from the drop down, you would select daily. Now, there is an option to mute, and we highly, highly recommend do not mute the notifications. We want to make sure that we are staying up to date and informed from Workday if we do have tasks, because again, The tasks that come into your Workday inbox, if you don't act upon them, you become the bottleneck. The task is just going to sit there until you do something about it. And we want to make sure that as activity happens in Workday, that we're staying up to date and that we are making sure that these tasks are moving through the system. Now, also, when I click on the profile, there's a button called View Profile. When I click on the View Profile, I'm now moving over to an area of the system that allows me to see specific data information about me. Now, I am a contractor here at UMMH. And so the way that I know that and the way you will know that is by the C. In Workday, they'll be called contingent workers. And so any contingent worker in Workday will have a C next to their name. However, everyone will have this navigation panel. And again, because I'm a contractor, my list is limited, but your list will be longer. You'll also be able to see compensation, your pay, benefits. All of these things will be listed here. And as they're listed here, you're able to click on them and see specific information about yourself. I'm going to draw your attention to this icon right here, the team icon. And the team icon allows you to see your organization chart. When I click on the team icon, it opens up the organization chart. And from there, I'm able to see where I am in the organization. My manager is Robin. And as I scroll down, I'm able to see myself in the org chart. Now, I'm also able to see that Robin has 22 direct reports because of that number 22, but I can also see that in Robin's supervisory organization, she also has managers who have direct reports as well. I'm going to return back to the home page by clicking on the home button. A few other things to show on the landing page. This is a waiting action, so this is kind of a window into your My Task inbox. It lets you see the first few tasks that are in your inbox. There is this link, go to My Task, letting me know how many tasks are in there. This is a hyperlink. Anytime you see a blue hyperlink, by clicking on it, it's going to take you to that area of the system. There is a timely suggestions cards that will be populated. Recommended for you are Workday areas where they promote the functionality of the system. I'm going to scroll up, and on the right, your top apps are the apps that you will use often. But this View All Apps link will take me back to the global menu. I'm clicking on the global menu because I do want to come back and point out there is this personal information application. And when I click on this personal information application, it takes me to this area in the system where I'm able to change and view information about me. So I'm able to update and view my contact information, my emergency contacts, my photo, legal name, all of the things that you see listed here. If I am here and I need to change my legal name, I will have to upload the supporting documentation, but then I will also have to get it approved. Another set of eyes will have to confirm that that legal name change and the documentation matches. This is one of the employee self-service features that is going to be available. So now instead of reaching out to HR or filling out a form, I can go right into Workday and do this. In addition to me updating my personal information, I have the ability to do my direct deposits. So I can set up my direct deposit account. And when I set up my direct deposit account, one of the things I like to share about Workday is that you could set up to 10 accounts in Workday. And so I can have 10 accounts in my direct deposit. I can set those up, manage them, add, delete as I like. All of that will be a part of the Workday self-service, employee self-service, caregiver self-service that will allow you to do those without having to reach out to HR, any of the other respective areas to get that in the system. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the My Team Management. And when I click on it, it's going to take me to the My Team Management dashboard. And again, like I said, this is a really cool dashboard in that it allows you to see a lot of great information. Coming onto this dashboard, we also first see that we have a welcome from Dr. Dixon. And so outside of our his wonderful welcome of all of the benefits of the dashboard, there is a legal notice that I want to draw to your attention. The legal notice simply states this dashboard contains sensitive information. Authorization to view or share the report contents is limited to authorized users. This information should not be distributed to any non-company personnel or uploaded to any databases or supplier vendor systems unless you have approval to do so. So just want to draw your attention to that legal notice. Why? Because from this My Team Management dashboard, you are able and you will see a lot of great data, personal data on your direct reports. On the My Team Management dashboard, there are 3 tabs. The My Team Management tab is the default tab. We also have the Learning, and then we have the Head Count and Turnover tab. I'm going to scroll down, and you can draw your attention to the recent activity. This is recent activity in the system on my direct reports. So any activity that's going on my direct report, I'm able to see right here on my Team Management dashboard. We're not using this matrix, but this My Team upcoming time off right now, it's not populated, but just keep in mind, we are getting an interface feed from Kronos. So we'll be able to see time off right here on this dashboard. This My Team's peer learning content right now, it's not populated, but we'll be able to see learning content right here. I'm going to scroll up, and on the right-hand side, actions. This is where, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, you will be able as a manager with the manager security role to perform tasks and take actions on your direct reports. You'll also be able to view information on your direct reports. Right here, you're able to see all of your team members. So when I'm able to see my team members, again, these hyperlinks, if I click on it, means that I can go somewhere in the system. If I click on this Alexis Caregiver, I'm going to go right to Alexis's personal profile. As the manager, you do have access to see this information. So you as a manager will be able to see compensation, absence, pay. You won't be able to see benefit information on Alex, but all of this other information as Alex's manager, you will be able to see. Now, I'm going to go back so I can get back to the My Team Management dashboard. All right, I'm going to scroll down, and also I'm able to see my team's learning. So you're able to see your direct reports and any of the learning that they may be enrolled in, registration dates, and the completion status. I'm going to scroll up, and I'm going to click on the Learning tab. And this page is going to populate with all things learning concerning my direct reports. So from the Learning tab, right now, this is what's populated. Learning enrollment report. This allows me to run a report of my direct reports to see their learning activity. I can also see this no-show enrollment offering report. So you can see there are some really cool reports. And now I'm able to see the open assignments by worker. So as my team starts their learning or involved in learning, I'm able to see right here where their learning is, the status of their learning. I'm going to scroll back up, and I'm going to click on the Head Count and Turnover tab, and this tab is going to populate. This is where I'm able to see data on my head count, and if there's any turnover activity within my supervisory organization, then I'm going to be able to see that information here. From this tab, I'm also able to generate some reports, the hires and termination by quarter report. And then here's a custom report, the head count and open position vacancy report. These are reports that I can run right from the tab on the dashboard. And then I'm also able to see my head count and open positions right here from this tab. You can see some of the other features on this page: position summary, the supervisory organization, hire terms and transfers in and out. A lot of really good data being pulled into these dashboards that you are able to see. Now, the time and leave dashboard. This is another cool dashboard that we have in Workday. This My Time and Absence dashboard, again, provides a one single location that gives you all kind of great time information, who's off from a time off perspective, and then also who may be on leave within your supervisory organization. All of that is available on the team absence dashboard, and this is just a pictorial of what that looks like in Workday. I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to move into introduction to initiating and managing tasks in Workday. So, initiating and managing tasks in Workday. Well, initiating tasks in Workday empowers managers, and it does so through the manager self-service. These are tools that are going to assist you in leading your team. Some of the things and some of the tools that Workday provides for the manager are tracking budgets and approving invoices, creating supplier requisition. These are the tools that you'll use through manager self-service. And then the bonus at the bottom is the ability to track the statuses of the activity that you have in Workday. Now, when we talk about managers being able to initiate tasks, we want to emphasize that this does not replace your interaction with HR, supply chain, and finance. We actually say and know that it will be an enhancement to your team's communication and collaboration. You being able to initiate these processes, you being able to manage the task in your inbox, and then again, those routing, the Workday routing that's going to make sure and ensure that those things that you are initiating are going to route through the system properly. Now I want to turn your attention to approving tasks in Workday, which will be another responsibility of the manager. Within Workday, in the My Task inbox, as I showed a little earlier, you will have tasks that you will either have to approve, send back, or deny. Approve is, okay, everything is great with the task, I approve it. Send back, something may be inaccurate and you need more information. And deny is, the request is, we like to say, dead on arrival, but it means that it's not warranted and you have the ability to deny it. So I like to use the example of an expense report. Your direct report may submit an expense report, and when they submit the expense report, it's going to come to you for approval. You will open your My Task inbox and review that expense report, and if everything is great, fine, accurate, then you will approve it. In the event that you review it and you see that there is a discrepancy, then you have the ability to send it back with the note, letting them know what needs to be updated. It'll go back to your direct report. They'll see it, they'll update it, and then they'll send it back to you. And then the denial is you review it and you're denying the expense. Once you deny it, then in the event that it was a right expense, your direct report will have to resubmit it and then send it back to you. These are the activities and the interactions that you will have with the tasks that are in your My Task inbox. Now, speaking of expense reports, we will be doing expense reports in Workday. So the expense report process is initiated by all caregivers. And once they're initiated, then they will go into approvals. And so we can see on the screen right here that first the expense report is initiated, then it goes off for approval. I want to draw your attention to number 3, credit card transactions. Go to a credit card transaction manager for approval. And then ultimately, once those approvals go through, it goes to an expense partner who makes the final approval of anything that is greater than $25. Couple of things that you want to note about expense reports. When you're reviewing an expense report, you want to make sure that you are reviewing the business purpose as well as the memo to describe what that expense is. You want to make sure that the individuals submitting the expenses are familiar with all of the policies, including the travel policy. It is essential that when viewing an expense report, that you also review the attachment so that the attachment, which is the supporting documentation of the expense, matches the expense. And then any of the revisions should be returned back to the caregiver. You should not update it, return it back to the caregiver, let them update it, and then they will resubmit the expense report. Now we're going to go into Workday. Once I clicked on the expenses application, I'm now on the expenses page. And on the expenses page, I see under actions the ability to create an expense report. This is the one that I want. I'm going to click on create expense report, and it's going to take me to the create expense report page. On the create expense report page, what you will notice there are fields that have red asterisks and there are fields that don't. Any field that has a red asterisk is a required field that you must complete. The first option, creation options, create a new expense report or copy a previous expense report. The create new expense report is the default. If I want to copy a previous one, then I would select the copy button and then retrieve and submitted expense. I have the ability right here in the memo to type a memo if I'd like. What is my business purpose? By clicking the field, I will get the list of the business purposes. I'm going to say it was travel. It's not attached to a project. I don't have the fund here. I do want to scroll up and draw your attention to the instructions on the page. Within Workday, there are instructions that will get you through, give you very good information, give you links to policies, and then also tips. So make sure that when you are going through tasks within Workday, when you see what we call this help text, that you're reading it to add value and make sure that you're doing the task correctly. I have entered all the fields that I need on this particular page. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And it takes me to this page now. It's actually forwarded me to the expense line tab, and I'm going to select add. Selecting add now allows me first to upload my supporting documentation for my expense. I can either drag and drop it, or I can click select files. And from my file location on my laptop or my computer, I can upload my expense. All right, expense item. I'm going to, when I click in the field, the expense item, I can look for my expense items alphabetically. I'm just going to type parking. I know that my expense was parking. And in the amount field, I'm going to enter the amount. Okay, now from the total amount, I'm going to scroll down. Again, I'm able to enter a memo, and that is a required field. I'm going to continue to scroll down. I don't need to complete these fields right here. I'm going to click on add. And as I click on add, I am going to go to the itemization page. I need to enter in the amount again, and then also enter in a memo, which are required fields. Once I've completed those fields, I'm going to click on done. Those are all the fields I need for my expense. And then once I have completed everything that I need, I'm going to select submit. Once I click submit, the system acknowledges that I have completed all the required fields for the task, and now it's going to go to my manager for approval. That is how you will submit an expense, upload supporting documentation, and then it will flow through the system. I'm going to switch back over to Michelle Manager because I want to show you from a manager's perspective what the task looks like that you will ultimately be approving. So any of the expenses in the system that you have, the manager will come to the manager and you will be approving that task. So this is the opportunity to see how an approval is done in the My Task inbox. Okay, so now I'm logged in as Michelle, and Michelle's going to go to her inbox, and in her inbox, she's going to see that Alex just submitted an expense report, and now Michelle needs to approve it. So in Michelle's my task inbox, when she clicks on it, she's going to see the task. And in the inbox, what I like to do is click on the icons that enlarges my screen so that I can see the entire task that I need to review and to approve. Remember, I'm able to see my task here, but also from the landing page, I'm also able to see the first 3 tasks in the system. Okay, so this is Michelle's inbox, and I want to see all of the items. And as I click on all items, right here, I see the expense report that Alex submitted. Here are the double arrows that will allow me to enlarge the screen. And as the manager, you're just going to look at the screen and review the expense. Once you take a look at the expense and you agree with what has been submitted, then from here, you're going to select approve. Once you click on approve, at that point, it now goes to the expense partner. Okay. One of the features that I've been promoting in Workday is the ability to check status. So we submitted an expense report, and maybe you will submit the task and you want to know, okay, where is it? Who's it going to next? Well, in Workday, there's ability to check status. That's the transparency that we've been talking about. So from the Workday My Task inbox, I'm going to click on the archive. And then when I click on the archive, I see statuses of the tasks that I have submitted. So I see that I have some successfully completed tasks. I have some in progress tasks. So here is where I'm able to have a canceled task. Here is where I'm able to see the status of my task. Now, in the event I have a task that still says in progress, I have the ability to track it. It also says here that there are multiple parties, which means that it's in progress and it's in more than one person's inbox. So sometimes on teams, like an expense partner, they may be on a team and it may be more than one expense partner. So all of them get the task. As soon as one of them acts on it, then it disappears from all of their tasks. So here, I see that it's still in progress. I want to see who's it waiting on for approval. So I'm going to enlarge my screen, and from here, I'm going to select the overall process link. Clicking on the overall process link, now I'm going to click on the process subtab. This is going to allow me to see every step of the process. So I'm able to see when Carson initiated the process, and I'm also able to see that there's some steps that were required. There's an approval right here by Michelle. And as I continue to scroll down, I can see in the status that it is awaiting action on the expense partners, and here they are. So I now can maybe send a quick email or make a quick phone call and say, hey, I have an expense or I have a task that's waiting your approval. Can you go in and approve it? So this is the ability, again, within Workday to allow you to see the status of a task. Okay, now changes to recruiting, hiring, and onboarding. There is a lot to cover. This is where the rubber meets the road and I start to accelerate in my session. Let's get in and see what we're talking about here. The functionality in Workday is exciting. The Workday's recruiting modules optimizes the end-to-end recruiting process, including job requisitions, candidate sourcing, candidate job application, and hiring. Candidates will apply at the UMMH career site right inside of Workday. So the internal UMMH caregivers do not have to go to an external site. Right in Workday, they can apply for a position. And the nice thing about that is their profile will automatically pull all of their information into that application. In addition, those who are applying externally have an external portal in which they will apply for positions. And then third, those that we call our contractors, who will be our contingent workers, have an external separate site. sites. So we actually, in actuality, have 3 different sites, but the bonus is for UMMH caregivers, it is an internal career site that pulls over the data that is already existing in Workday. Requesting new positions will be managed through the position management process. Annual fiscal budgets will be set at the beginning of the year for new positions. Managers will be responsible for managing their own budgets. Using Workday job application process, recruiters and managers leverage this process to help the movement of candidates through the recruiting process. So in Workday, which we'll see in a few minutes, there is interaction between those involved in the hiring process. And then there's a template for the offer letter that is created, and it's more consistent to the offer process. Hiring and onboarding for caregivers. Here again, as some exciting functionality that come with Workday. Network accounts, email and logins will be automatically set up for all caregivers. Epic and Spices will be automatically requested for certain job roles, and then Epic training requests will be automatically sent to the Epic training team. Next, managers can review and track hiring and onboarding progress. That awareness of when your new hire is coming is there. It's associated with the onboarding process, and then the recruiting, compliance, and onboarding statuses summary report follow the caregiver all the way through the onboarding process. And then finally, they will receive consistent supporting onboarding experience, all taking place in Workday. As they complete one task, then they go to the next until all of them are completed. And the manager has the ability during the onboarding initiation to personalize messaging to the caregiver as they welcome them aboard. Now, this next slide, this is a framework of how the process of hiring and onboarding is streamlined. And what I want to do is not focus on all of it, but specifically point out the areas that touch the manager. So in the pre-offer, the task is shared between talent acquisition team and the managers. The manager, you're going to submit the job requisition, then you're going to continue to work with TA in the screening process, the interview process. You're going to approve and be a part of the approval of the job offer. And then again, you're going to be able to track all of this activity in Workday. In the middle, these are all of the activities that TA and HR Solution Center will do. And then finally, on the right-hand side, these are the tasks that you will be responsible for as the manager. You'll be submitting ServiceNow onboarding tickets for any additional security access or computers or phones. In addition, within Workday, you will be completing, you're the one who really kicks off the onboarding process for your new hire. You will also be adding the probation period, and then you will also be able to view again the progress of that caregiver through reporting that is in Workday. Some key manager vital activities that we want to point out. The internal candidates, there's 48 hours. The hiring manager will need to review and provide next steps within 48 hours. So when this task comes to you, it is important that there's a 48-hour turnaround. Interview feedback, there's a 24-hour turnaround. Note the following: talent acquisition can no longer move candidates without the feedback from the manager. And at the end of every feedback questionnaire, the hiring manager will need to answer candidate position questions. And then finally, the approval of the offer letter, 24 hours to get that done. Not following that, the hiring manager determines the hire, reviews the offer, and then approves it. Hiring manager can add approvers to the offer or send back to the primary recruiter. So that is a small note that in the event that the hiring manager wants to have some other set of eyes on the offer, they can add individuals to review the offer as well. Okay, let's talk about the recruiting overview. just to help you understand key terminologies in the area of roles, key roles and talent acquisition that you need to be aware of. The candidate clearly is the person internally or externally that is applying for a position. The hiring manager is the manager of the supervisory organization in which a new hire is coming into. The primary recruiter is the person who's assigned to help the job requisition process and make sure that it's going through properly in the system. And then there's a recruiting coordinator. The recruiting coordinator is assigned to a job requisition by the recruiter. They're responsible for closing job requisitions, initiating background checks, initiating ready for hire, scheduling interviews, and completing interviews. So you can see that there are several key players in the hire process. All of these have particular roles that help the process through the system. Now, let's talk about creating a job requisition. Creating a job requisition, to request a job requisition, you can use the task create job requisition. So you as the manager now will go into Workday and initiate this process. Once started, an existing position can be selected or a new position can be created. You'll need to assign the role of a primary recruiter. So it'll be important that before you even start the process, that you know who the primary recruiter is before you start. On the screen, you can see the process from beginning to end. The create job requisition is created and a role is assigned, and then it goes through the process. The additional data to edit the work schedule, then there's the approval of the manager, and then that review of the job description is reviewed by the primary recruiter, and then ultimately the job is posted. What I'm going to do now is show you how to create a job requisition for a position that needs to be backfilled. So I want you all to watch right now. I am going to start from the Workday homepage. And one thing I want to show is this orange icon right here. The orange icon is called the Need Help icon. And when I click on it, it's going to give me a drop down menu. This is the Workday Help feature. This is a really cool tool. I'm going to, in the search, type create requisition. Here we go. Okay, so create job requisition. So now what's going to happen is the Workday Help will start to outline in red rubber bands the area of the system that I need to be in or that I need to go to move me through the process. So what it is it's an in-app help. I'm going to click on the global menu, and you can see that the red rubber band is showing me exactly where to click, and I'm also getting some on-text help. I'm going to click on Recruiting Dashboard. And from the recruiting dashboard, it takes me here. Now the screen is populating. Once the screen populates, then the help will continue to give me the on-screen help that I need. So now it's saying, hey, click on Create Job Requisition. So I'm going to click on Create Job Requisition. And as the screen changes, the help is following along with the particular task. This is the end or the Workday help that we have. And so as you go into Workday, maybe it's February and you're trying to remember what you learned in training, but just remember that within Workday, you have the Workday help. Now, it's giving me further information and also some information about supervisory organizations. This is Michelle Manager's supervisory organization. This is the organization that she wants to do the requisition in. So I'm going to click on my supervisory organization. And then once I click on my supervisory organization, I'm going to say it's for an existing position because it is a backfill. But you can see the instruction on if it was a create a new one, but I'm going to do a backfill. I'm going to click on the drop down and I'm going to select the open position that happens to be in my department. Once I have done that, I'm going to click next. I've selected my position. This is defaulted based on the position that I have selected. And now I'm going to click on OK. Now it's going to take me through the create job requisition process. The beauty is that a lot of the information from the previous position is there. And so I'm going to start by clicking on the edit icon because I need to give a reason why I am creating this job requisition. So I'm going to click the drop down. And from the drop down, I'm going to say it is a new job and that it is budgeted. I'm going to select next. And then it's just telling me that this recruiting instruction, I need to decide how do I want this posting? It's internal and external. My recruiting date is defaulted to today's date. I'm going to default my hire date to today as well for the purposes of my demonstration. Once I have put in my dates, the next thing I'm going to do is click on next. Okay, as I click on next, the screen is going to start to advance. Now, as you can see, the screen in Workday is showing me where I am in this process, and then I'm just going to continue to navigate. This is the job details. These are the job details that were on the position that already existed. I don't necessarily need to update anything, but I am going to select edit because I happen to know at the bottom of the screen, I need to identify the work shift. Even though there is not a red asterisk there, this is a required field, and if you don't complete it, it will give you an error. So once I've added all of that information or any information that I need, remember by looking at the job details, if I need to make any updates, I can click the edit and make those updates. Once I know that everything on this page is correct, I'm going to select next. The next page is the skills page. The skills from the position come in, but if I want to update the skills, I can click the edit and add any additional suggested skills, required skills, or optional skills. I'm going to select next, and I'm on the qualifications page. This page right here are for any required certifications, and here's some examples here. If there aren't any, then I will go ahead and click next. Organizations. These are already populated from the position, so I won't need to update this unless maybe it's being charged to another cost center. If that is the case, I will select edit, change my cost center. I'm going to select next. If I have any attachments, any supporting documentation that I want to upload, I can upload them here by clicking add. I'm going to select next. And this is the assign role step. This is where you're going to assign the primary recruiter. So I'm going to select add, and the role is primary recruiter. And then who do I assign it to? That is what I said. Before you start the process, you want to know who that primary recruiter is. You can look by your organization to see the recruiters. Again, we're in a training tenant, so it's not going to populate, but I can just go in and select one for the purposes of my demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and select next. Okay, and now I'm on the last page. And on the last page, what I'm allowed to do is review all of the fields in the detail of the position. As I review, and if there is anything that's not accurate, then I can just click on the edit and make the changes. Once I am okay and I know that everything is good with this position, I will select submit. From there, it will go on to Michelle because she'll need to edit dates. She'll need to assign one other additional thing. So 2 items for the manager. And then once the manager finishes those 2 tasks, it will go on to the next level of approval. I'm not going to submit because I want to use this requisition for another session. So I'm going to discard my changes. And this is how you will create a job requisition. This is again for the backfill. If this is a new position, then when you go in, you will have to fill in some of those other fields that we didn't have to fill in because they were already populated. Once that requisition has been created, the primary recruiter will review the applications. Once it's been posted, then now the process starts. The recruiter will review the applications, identify the potential candidates, and on the screen, what you're seeing highlighted in red are the areas where the managers drop into the process. So each step of the way, the manager is going through the process. Just keep in mind the time requirements that you need to make sure that you are doing your part in approving those tasks. You can see that you're involved in the interview process. There is a link between Workday and Outlook so that you can populate your calendar with those interviews. Then you can see that compensation is proposed. You, as the manager, are involved with that. And then finally, the last step, once the candidate has been selected, the manager, the hiring manager, will receive an onboarding setup task. It is that task that you're able to review, you're able to update and give more welcoming information if you want. You'll also, if applicable, set the probation period for your new hire. This screen right here is a pictorial of the actual interview feedback pages that you would interact with in Workday. And again, just make sure that you keep in front of you that turnaround time. These must be completed. When the candidate is placed in the interview stage, all interviewers will need to complete an interview feedback form. This will populate in the selected interviewer's inbox for them to complete once they have interviewed the candidate, and you need to complete this task so that the process will continue. Then here is a picture of the offer. This task will also show up in your inbox. Prior to extending an offer, you will need to review the proposed offer. Once you have approved the proposed offer, then that task will come back, will continue, and then you'll also get the final offer in which you will have to approve as well. And then this is a screenshot of the onboarding setup. The onboarding setup screen the manager gets, you can see in the message, this is where you're able to edit the message if you want to add more context or more welcoming information. And then there is the ability to identify who you want the new hire to meet, and then any other helpful contacts. This right here is a very important step for the manager. When you submit this task, then that kicks off the onboarding task for your new hire. One of the benefits of Workday is that you have the ability to see the report, and this report allows you to access the onboarding dashboard known as the Recruiting, Compliance, and Onboarding Status Summary Report. But it allows you to see the status of your new hire and their onboarding progress. Hey, let's move over and talk about caregiver job changes. This is one of the more complex areas within Workday. Why? Because when we talk about your direct reports, we're talking about the life cycle of a caregiver from the time that they start, any of the changes, promotions, demotions, transfers, all the way through retirement or termination. And so within Workday, all of that is being managed, right? And so along with your caregiver includes changes. And so you as a manager interact with these different type of changes, and it's important to understand and know what those changes are, what the changes you want to make, why you want to make them, and how they should be made. For caregivers, job changes, let's say let's start here. No requisitions are needed for MNAU and MNAHM. And the changes of hours or position, you don't need a requisition. Likewise, use the churn process permitted by union contracts. This form is used to determine who you would like to increase the hours. And then finally, the non-competitive promotions, exempt to exempt or non-union, will need an open approved position within the same department to promote into. Now, these are the different type of job changes that a caregiver will experience, as I stated, there could be data changes. So we see the different type of data changes. And then we also see demotions, promotions, and transfers. Most of these processes, demotions, promotions, transfers, are done through the recruiting process. But on occasion, some of these can be done all outside of the recruiting process. The next slides, I'm going to quickly go through and just highlight that these are the different type of job changes, but I just want to zero in on where you as the manager drop into the process. So for a transfer, it's initiated by the recruiting coordinator, and then once it's initiated, it comes to you. You're going to review the change, then you will confirm the change details, and then you will be the first level of approval before it goes on through the process in the system. On the bottom right-hand side, there may be additionally some sub-processes that kick off or start off in Workday as a result of the change, and those are listed in the bottom left-hand corner. The next change is a promotion. And again, a promotion is initiated by a recruiting coordinator, or you can initiate it. Your initiation, again, from the screen, you see how you are involved in the process, right? And how it moves through the system. In addition to you and the TA department, the Solution Center also has some responsibility in this particular task. Demotions. You are able also as a manager as well as the recruiting coordinator are able to initiate a demotion. This process kicks off, and then again you see on the screen where you are involved in the process. Once you are or have done your part in the process, then of course it goes on to completion until the task is done. Resignations and terminations. Caregivers have the ability in Workday to submit a voluntary resignation. Once they have submitted that voluntary resignation, that task comes to you for review. Now, involuntary resignations are initiated by you as the manager, and then they go on to various groups for levels of approval. Terminations. The termination process is used to end the caregiver's employment with UMMH. The types of termination include what I just said, voluntary terminations and involuntary terminations. There is a note here, a separated employee is inactive and will not appear in full-time employee headcount reports. As the manager in this process, prior to a termination decision, you should discuss the elements of the termination with your HR partner. Now we go back into Workday. We're going to do a termination. And so I am going to go back to my homepage, and I'm going to go to the My Team Management dashboard. So from the global menu, I'm going to click on the global menu, and I'm going to go to the My Team Management dashboard. On the My Team Management dashboard, remember I showed that under actions, there was the ability to initiate a termination. And so on the My Team Management dashboard, I can initiate a termination by clicking on terminate, or I can also, right from the direct report, I can click on, there are these three dots right here. It's called the related actions icon. Some people call it the Twinkie. I'm going to click on it. And when I click on it, I'm going to get a drop down. And from that drop down, I see job change, and then I see terminate employee. So right here, when I select terminate employee, because I am on Alex's profile, it's going to take me right into the screens. Now, this is an involuntary termination that I am initiating. I can, from this screen, I have to select edit because I need to give a primary reason for the termination. If I click the drop down, I'm able to see all of the different reasons. This is an involuntary termination, and from the list of reasons, I can select attendance issues. I do not need a secondary reason, so I'm going to save that and I'm going to go down into the details. Let's click on edit and ask when is the termination effective? I'm going to put the termination date 2 weeks out, so that will make it the 22nd. I'm going to end it on a Friday. And then all of the other dates, the last day of work and the pay through date, are all going to default based on my termination date. It's important that you pay attention to those dates because the pay through date may not be the same as the termination date. I'm going to scroll down to position details. Now, I want to draw very, very close attention to this. Closed position. If the person is leaving the position, but you know that you're going to backfill the position, do not change the setting here. Leave it at no. Leave it at no. Okay, please leave it at no. And then, is this position available for overlap? In the event that when the person leaves, you're going to hire somebody to come in and learn that person's job before they leave, then you have overlap. You want to make sure that the budget accommodates both of those people. But if there's position is going to allow for overlap, then you want to select edit and say yes. Once all of my fields are completed, you would submit, and then it's going to go through your process. I'm going to discard my change, and that is how you terminate an employee in Workday. One other area that we want to point out is the ability to identify direct reports with multiple positions. So in Workday, if you have an individual in your department who has multiple positions, there are indicators in Workday that will point that out. On the screen, you're able to see that Melody has multiple positions, and the way that you're able to tell is that this icon appears. Another thing that you're able to tell based on the profile of Melody is that she has which position is the primary and which one is the secondary position. When you see the plus sign, that indicates that the position is secondary. There are some things that we want to point out as far as multiple positions. One position will be primary at all times. This is the position with the most hours. If equal, it is the older position, that is the primary. If one of the positions is per diem, it is not the primary position. Non-primary positions have a plus sign, which I've just shown on the screen. And then most importantly, secondary positions will be responsible for any overtime hours accrued by the caregiver. So if they do have two positions and they have that second one and they do over the 40 hours, it is the second position's cost center that will pay for those extra hours. Okay. Identifying direct report, there is a report that you can run. So if you want to see if there are people, direct reports in your supervisor organization with multiple positions, there is a report that you can run that will allow you to see who has two jobs, two positions, multiple positions, and which one is the primary, which one is the secondary. You also want to keep in mind that there is the ability to add and end the job for a caregiver with multiple positions. So in adding a job, the caregiver will apply for additional jobs and they'll go through the recruiting process. As part of the process, the HR Solutions Center will switch to primary job if necessary. And then finally, on ending one of those jobs, you as a manager can initiate the process by selecting the worker. You would just choose action, job change, and then end job. This will end the second job. When a caregiver is resigning from one of the positions, it is not a termination. We're just ending the second job. That primary position is still staying in place. Okay, delegation. We've talked about a lot of processes so far, a lot of tasks that may end up in your inbox. I want to take some time to talk about managing delegations. So, managing delegations is the ability in Workday to take your task and assign them to someone else to conduct or perform. Let's say you're going on vacation. Christmas is coming, and you're going to take the week off of Christmas. Well, you have the ability to delegate your tasks so that while you're on the beach or wherever you're going for vacation, that someone is managing the task so that you, while you're off enjoying yourself, do not become the bottleneck in the process. So managers have the ability to set it up. Upper management may choose to delegate specific business process tasks, like hiring and administrative, all of those things, maybe to an administrative assistant. These tasks can be delegated by process individually or multiple. Delegations must have a beginning and an end date. So this is a process flow. In addition to you as a manager delegating your task, caregivers also have the ability to delegate their task. If a caregiver delegates their task, it does come to you for approval to make sure that they're not delegating anything that is not has sensitive information. So I'm going to switch over to Workday. And from the Workday My Task inbox, I'm going to click on that icon. And once that opens up, I'm going to go to the Manage Delegation. It's coming. Okay, here we go. Manage Delegations. You can also in the search bar type Manage Delegations. It's going to get you to the same place. So here is Michelle Manager, and she doesn't have any delegations set up. So the first thing I need to do is select the Manage Delegations button. And once I select the Manage Delegations button, I have to put in a beginning and an end date. So I said that it's going to be the week of Christmas. So I'm going to select 25th as my beginning date. And then my end date will be the 29th. Now, who am I delegating this to? Well, I'm the manager. So I'm going to delegate, let's see, my inbox to one of my peers, Cheryl. Okay, now there's a couple of options here. The start on my behalf is an option. You don't have to use this option, but if you want the person that you are delegating your task to also be able to do tasks on your behalf, this is where you want to fill that in. So let's say you want somebody to be able to create a job requisition for you, then in this field right here, you would type create job requisition. And the individual that you have assigned as your delegate will also be able to initiate job requisitions on your behalf. Again, this is an option. You don't have to put anything here. To delegate your inbox, you have two options. Do my task on my behalf. You can delegate the entire inbox. That means any and everything that comes into your inbox, Cheryl would take care of it. Or if you only want Cheryl to do certain processes, certain tasks, you can say for business process, maybe you only want her to approve expense reports while you're gone. Then you would just type expense, and that would be the only thing that Cheryl would be approving on your behalf. I'm going to scroll down because I want you to see this retain access to delegated tasks. This checkbox, this says, hey, even though I'm delegating these tasks, I still want them to be in my inbox. Just keep in mind that even though you are delegating your task, that this does not take the responsibility from you. You still have the responsibility of those tasks that are coming into your inbox. Once the delegation is set up, then you would select submit, and that delegation becomes in effect. The person who you delegated to, they have a Workday inbox, and they'll just click on the icon to switch from their inbox to your inbox. Life cycle of goal setting. Now we're going to move into goal setting, and this depicts the process flow of setting goals. Performance goals are kicked off by the COE. The goal templates are created. The organizational goals are created by performance COE. The manager has the ability and does cascade those goals to the caregiver. In addition to the cascaded goals, The manager also has the ability to create individual team goals and cascade those down to the team as well. The caregiver also has the ability to create goals, and once those goals are created by the caregiver, they will go to the manager, and then the manager will approve those goals, and then it's finished. This is a workflow of the cascading goals, again, the initiation of them, and then how they go into review and then approval. We also have the ability to get feedback. An individual or caregiver can ask for feedback. So let's say maybe a caregiver did a special project for a manager, the work completed. The caregiver can say, hey, can I get some feedback? That becomes a part of the caregiver's profile. The caregiver does have the ability to initiate that process, and then it becomes a part of the caregiver's profile. Additionally, the manager has the ability to request feedback. So if the manager wants to get that feedback from the manager of the project that the caregiver worked on, the manager can also initiate the get feedback task on behalf of the caregiver. Now, start disciplinary action for employee. The start disciplinary action process can be initiated by the manager, and then it will route to the manager to complete the manager evaluation. Once the manager has completed the action plan, an employee relations partner will review and approve. Then they will review with the caregiver, and finally the caregiver and the manager review with comments. And this is exactly what the process is on the screen. The manager initiates it, and then it goes through the process, the evaluation, the review. They hold a meeting, and then the manager and employee put their comments into the review, and then it is saved, updated by the last comments are inserted by the manager. This is called the Start Disciplinary Action for Employee. And then we have the Performance Improvement Plan. The Performance Improvement Plan, HR, talent, employee relations, and or people managers can initiate a performance improvement plan for caregivers. Once that is initiated, the people manager will complete the performance improvement plan for the caregiver, and then it goes through the process of the necessary individuals until it is complete. And that is exactly what is shown on the screen. Now, I'm going to forward because I do have a demonstration. This is a demonstration first of the Start Disciplinary Action. I'm going to click on it, and you can see right in the search bar, we're going to type Start Disciplinary Action. From there, once the task is entered in, we click on the task. It's going to bring this screen right here. Again, there's help text, even if it makes it look small on your screen. There's help text on the screen that will guide you in what is needful and necessary to complete the task. Keep in mind that the fields on the screen that have a red asterisk are required fields. Okay, so we have the employee, we have the review type, we have the disciplinary action reason that is identified, and then we have the period start and end dates. All of those fields are required on the screen. Once those fields are completed, then we submit. And once it is submitted, then the disciplinary action continues through the process. This is the manager evaluation that you as the manager will complete. You can see on the left-hand panel are the areas that have to be completed, the information. This is the detail about the disciplinary action. There is a questionnaire. You are to complete the questionnaire. Each one of those particular questions, putting in the detailed information about the disciplinary action that you're submitting on behalf of your caregiver. Once those questions are answered, then from this screen, you will select Next. You can see that there are quite a few questions on the screen. Again, once those questions are answered, then the next button on the screen to be clicked on is Next. See if I can advance this. I can. Okay, so then once all of the fields are completed, again, we would click next, and then submit. And that is the start disciplinary action. You can see now that the task goes to employee relations. Employee relations reviews it, and then it continues into the approval process. Next is the performance improvement plan. I'm going to start the video here. And in the search, you're going to type performance performance improvement plan. I need to change the title on the slide. And here, you're again going to put the employee's name in, filling out the template, which is the performance improvement plan, the start and the end dates, and then you will submit. And you can see from here, once we submit, this plan comes back to the manager, you get started, and you can see that the template is a light template, just like the last one that we did for the performance improvement, the disciplinary one. The next slide, learning. And these are pretty simple tasks under learning. Enroll in a course. Caregivers can enroll themselves in courses through Workday. So HealthStream is going to be no longer in January. We'll go right into our Workday, and that's where we'll start to enroll and interact with our courses. People managers, learning administrators, and learning partners can also enroll caregivers into specific learning courses, and people managers, learning administrators, and learning partners have the ability to do mass enrollments. Likewise, you're also able to drop a course. A caregiver can drop a course, and you as a manager can drop a course for a caregiver. The caregiver, however, cannot drop a course that is marked as a required course. So that while they have the ability to drop courses, if it is a required course, they cannot drop it. Okay, let's wrap up. So we have learned a lot today. We have talked about managers and the role of a manager, what qualifies someone to receive the role of a manager in Workday. We also went through and talked about the tasks that are going to end up in your inbox. We did a navigation of the landing page. We went to the My Team Management dashboard and did a preview of the My Team Management dashboard. We discussed the time and attendance dashboard. We went in and we looked at the different type of processes that you as a manager will be able to initiate. We did and walked through those job change flows that for the most part you will have definite interaction with. We also looked at how to manage delegations within Workday. After looking at the managed delegations, we looked at goal setting, cascading goals, and also assigning individual goals to your team members. We looked at some of our learning, how to enroll courses, how to drop courses, and now we've come to the end of our learning for today. I hope that you are more educated on Workday, that you've been exposed to the functionality and the ease of use within the system. Make sure that you go and visit the Workday Hub page. This is the URL for the Workday Hub page. And if you have any questions, feel free to send your questions to workday@umassmemorial.org. Thank you so much for joining us.